I'm going to tell you the story that few people actually know, and it's the story of our business called International Market Access Limited. We started IMA 25 years ago, but most people know me, Tom Muldowney, as the person driving the international business at Meguiar's, or the international sales manager for Gorilla Glue, or the guy that launched Permatex in Asia, or VP of marketing for Loctite. But that's only part of who I am. For the last 25 years, we created this company to help companies that were number one or number two in their category in the United States, that were typically family run and family owned, and to help them project and build an international business. So it all started 33 years ago when Loctite moved me from Connecticut to Hong Kong. So I was sent to Hong Kong to establish the Permatex brand in Asia and build an automotive aftermarket business. The business was very successful, but Loctite was hostily taken over by Henkel of Germany, so everything changed. And Henkel didn't see the Permatex brand as an aftermarket opportunity for them, so they sold off the business that I was sent to run. Now, that was during the Asian crisis. I was in Beijing with Barry Meguiar, the owner of Meguiar's Car Wax. And Barry gave me two pieces of sage advice that actually have governed everything that we've done ever since. The first one is, don't burn bridges. Be professional and transition your Permatex business to the new owners. Keep positive relationships. And then he said, Tom, don't even look for a job. I just want you to take our company global. And so that was the birth of IMA. Since then, we built the Meguiar's business over 10 years. And in the 8th year, 3M took over the business. So we transitioned that business. And then the people that bought the Permatex business from Loctite were in private equity, and we helped them reset the business. And later they sold to ITW. So we worked reestablishing that business for 5 years. Then in 2009, a friend of mine from Loctite introduced me to the Ragland family that owns the Gorilla Glue company. That led to a really win-win relationship where we've sold Gorilla Glue outside the US and outside Europe and Australia for the last 15 years, growing the business 70x, a really positive thing. In 2009, we also established our own brand, a car mat business. Then the private equity people that sold Meguiar's introduced us to the number one selling car air freshener range in the U.S. called Handstands. They later bought Eagle One and they bought California Scents before they were sold to Energizer. And then the president of Meguiar's introduced me to a family-owned excellent company in Lancaster, Pennsylvania called Stoner. Stoner are the makers of invisible glass in the auto aftermarket, but they have a huge industrial mold release business. And we've worked with them for 11 years and grown that business, and it's been a real positive relationship. ITW contacted us again to do some consulting in 2018, right before COVID, and this year they've asked us back to run the Permatex business, and they introduced us to another huge opportunity at ITW, and that's the tire repair business under the Slime brand, which we're in the process of launching exactly right now. In the UK, the Handstands distributor who supplied Halfords was pressed by Halfords to continue to supply all the SKUs that he had, and he was forced to go to China and source air fresheners. And that became Simply brand, and we've been working with him for the last 5 years. So this is an interesting slide. The company called Sawaya Segalis, one of the top business brokers in the auto aftermarket, they sold Armor All several times, and they were tasked with selling Meguiar's. And they got to know us and our story, And they realized we started with $1 million business and no investment, just sweat equity. And in 10 years, we grew that business at over a 29% compound annual growth rate. That led them to introduce us to handstands, and they tried to get us into other companies that were owned by private equity that they were trying to increase the sales on. So since we left Meguiar's in 2010, we've grown even faster because those relationships that Barry Meguiar told us to keep, the systems that we created, sales, marketing, follow-up systems that we developed at Meguiar's, those all helped us grow this business faster. So we grow faster than we've ever grown before. One of the family owners at Gorilla Glue said this about us. He saw us as his outsourced international sales and marketing department, and he noted that we're very good at locating the best distributors in market and build that international capability while using almost no resources from the U.S. team. I really see our role as human resources. It's not sales and marketing. Our job is to get the best international distributors, the fastest growing lines, and while doing that, we have to do it with a talented team that we assemble, and it's all about the people. So this is our team. David Pikett was referred to me by one of my ex-university marketing professors. I hired David right out of college, but actually he was a Meguiar's employee who I managed. And David traveled all around the world before living in Holland and later settling in the UK. But he's a cheesehead from Wisconsin. And we've worked together for 24 years. Anita Hodson is a Brit, and she's worked with us for 19 years as financial controller. She started in Hong Kong, but her talented husband is in the business of manufacturing land. So he moved to Bahrain, and Anita has worked remotely in the cloud, managing our finances ever since. Glenn Gu is our newest addition. He's been with us about 6 months. Glenn was born in Shanghai, graduated from one of the top engineering programs in China, worked for InBev, the marketeers of Budweiser beer, in sales, in various roles of responsibility. And then he moved to Hong Kong, got an MBA from HKUST, which was recently rated the best MBA program in Asia, and he's joined us to help us grow the China's business. Another HKUST graduate is Jeffrey Howe. Once a year, I go to HKUST and give a program about how, through marketing, the small guy can take on the multinationals. And my real reason is I want to find talent. And at the end of that program 9 years ago, Jeffrey came forward and asked for an internship. And Jeffrey's been with us ever since. We hired him when he graduated, and he now runs our Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan businesses. And he's incredible at sales and marketing. Our newest leader of the Hong Kong office is Michelle Ting. She's our office manager. Michelle was born in Malaysia. She got her undergrad in Canada and her MBA, and she worked in the financial services business for many years and worked even longer for Shangri-La Hotels. She runs everything that happens in Hong Kong, manages our office, and also does all the email blasts. Okay, today we sell and market for all of these leading brands. But what really makes us unique, other than our human resource orientation of getting the right people in the right places, is our sales and marketing approach. So there's two things that have been really challenging in my time in Hong Kong. And that was breaking into the retail market in Japan. When I was at Loctite and we had a big Japanese force on the ground in the country, we could never break into the retail market. But we have since then. We have Gorilla Glue in over 4,000 home centers and big DIY stores in Japan. And we have invisible glass in almost the same number of home centers, DIY stores, and outlets like Autobacks. And it's remarkable, and the brands are really well known and perceived as Japanese brands. The second thing that's really challenging in Asia is cracking the industrial market in China. When I was with Loctite, we had hundreds of degreed mechanical and electronic engineers calling on OEMs. Since leaving Loctite, I'm very proud to say that we have established Stoner paste waxes and mold releases as the market leaders with the leading market share in many markets in China. And this all comes back to a pivotal question I asked on my first job out of college. I got a job in Roanoke, Virginia in Appalachia selling mufflers and tailpipes for Tenneco Automotive. Tenneco was a Fortune 500 company, and it was the third biggest company after GM and Ford in the auto aftermarket. My first boss was a gentleman in his 50s by the name of Mike Ryan, and on the first day, he explained to me that he sold $20 million worth of mufflers in the middle Atlantic states in the U.S. And I was amazed, and I go, Mike, how could you possibly sell $20 million worth of mufflers? And he said, Tom, I don't. I sell programs that sell mufflers. And that marriage of programs and sales was permanently imprinted on my psyche. So today in our business, we have customers in over 80 countries. We have over 900 distributors that we sell something to, and we have over 3,000 prospects. So one of the ways we stay front of mind with all of these distributors is every week we send out an email blast to every one of these channels. And it's amazing. We'll send an email blast, and the next day, those customers will send us an order. It's all a matter of shaking the tree and reminding them about the business opportunity. One of the things we measure very carefully, and we measure everything in our business, is open rates. And so an open rate means how many people click on an email to see the message. And we have open rates that average over 50% in most of our businesses. And here's 3 recent ones that were, top of their class with open rates of 60 to 75%. Another thing that we do are local language videos. So this is a video that we used in a pitch to 7-Eleven in Taiwan. In Taiwan, they speak a certain kind of Mandarin that's a Taiwanese dialect. So we hired a voice talent, and our team in Hong Kong voiced over and created this video for the pitch in Taiwanese dialect.
下雨天开车视线不清楚，小心酿成大祸。Invisible Glass 强烈推荐泼水雨刷精，一瓶解决清洁和泼水的烦恼。只需将一整瓶雨刷精倒入水箱之后，每当你使用雨刮器时，雨水将不再附着在玻璃上，前后对比十分明显。赶紧使用 Invisible Glass 泼水雨刷精，让你雨天开车更安全。各大 7-Eleven 有售。
And here's a video that we created, and we've created them in so many languages for the Gorilla Glue business. Now, we know that the Google search algorithm now throws out or lower ranks videos with AI or AI voices. So we've developed a way for less than $100 a video that we can inject a true voice talent. This one's in Arabic.
غوريلا سوبر غراء لديه إصلاح لكل مشروع. غراء أصلي وجلد دقيق لأصعب الوظائف على كوكب الأرض.
And remember what Mike Ryan told me about selling programs that sell mufflers? Well, I brought that to Loctite. And when I was product manager in Cleveland, in the headquarters for Permatex, we had a legacy business with a red and a blue silicone that had become commoditized. And we had hired a brilliant chemist from GE, and he had developed some new technology that was revolutionarily better. We used Mike's program selling to buy a big cooler, put 4 cases of silicone in it, and when we launched the Ultra Series silicones, which I named and positioned, this promotion sold $1 million. And it was the biggest promotion at that time in the history of Permatex. When I moved to Asia, I did the same thing. And we did the coolers. We sold over $1 million again. And guess what? Today, now that we've taken back the Permatex business, those Ultras are the top selling products in Asia 20 years later. When it came to the Meguiar's business, we were up against a big obstacle because nobody could pronounce Meguiar's. Nobody knew what it was. But we knew from the U.S. Business that 73% of the people bought Meguiar's, were heavy users, and they belonged to a car club. So we researched and connected with all the car clubs in the early 2000s in all the countries around the world. And then we pitched to the leaders of those car clubs after we held Meguiar's how-to clinics about being in an ad that said, people that love cars love Meguiar's. And these ads became iconic and to the point that we printed calendars, one for Asia, one for Europe, with all the key people and cars in the ads. These calendars became such a big deal that when 3M bought Meguiar's, they continued the calendars. They brought all the guys that were in the calendars and their cars to the forecourt of the SEMA show in Las Vegas. I learned at my time at Loctite that customer training is everything, and whoever trains the customer will lead the market. So that plays a role in everything that we do at IMA. So when we took over the Stoner molding business, we created training modules, both as PowerPoints, as seminars, and even as online videos, or even teasers that are 15-second ads about the Stoner mold release business in the various markets. During COVID, we realized that a lot of our customers were shut in, and their salespeople couldn't go out and see customers, but it was a perfect opportunity to train them. And also, supply chain shortages happened and inflation. So one of the key things that we trained on after talking with our U.S. principals about training needs was the ability to send short, concise emails that got one-shot communication rather than a chain of 20 emails. Then we worked with Gorilla Glue on a presentation on how to land major big box DIY retailers, taking all the learnings there and helping to bring our country distributors up to speed. And remember those supply chains and the inflation, well, that led to price increases. And many of our distributor salespeople had never sold a price increase. So we gave them the skills and the confidence to be able to do that because we were concerned that if our distributors didn't increase price and their costs went up, they would go out of business. And then one of the key things in any international business is keeping stock, inventory management, and supply chain logistics. So we put together modules to help manage that and teach best practices.
Hi everyone, David here. Having known Tom for over a decade, when the opportunity presented itself in 2014 to partner together and work in Europe alongside some of these incredible brands was a dream come true. Together, we started working trade shows throughout the region in order to introduce some awesome consumer brands to end users and retailers alike that now have thousands of stores throughout the region stocking those products. We also worked really hard to build industrial chemical businesses like Stoner, where we could meet people at trade shows and then get out into the market and do as many demonstrations as possible. We even branded some cool cars and trucks along the way. What an incredible 11 years it's been.
We're in the human resources business, as I mentioned, and we've been blessed to be very successful over the last 25 years in Asia. So we've always had a focus on giving back to the people in Asia. We had a wonderful international conference at Meguiar's in 2004 on the beach at a beautiful resort in Phuket. 5 days after that conference, a tsunami came and killed thousands of people and just devastated Phuket. I talked to many of my friends in Thailand, and they explained that all the big charities and NGOs were in Thailand, in Phuket, but they were mostly staying in 5-star hotels and drinking red wine. So I realized that we had to figure out a way to get whatever money we raised directly to help the people. So some friends of mine told us of an orphanage that was helping children orphaned when their parents were killed in the tsunami. So we were proud to support them with the second biggest contribution after the King of Sweden. When COVID happened, it hit close to home. I have a daughter that's been chronically ill for 10 years, and we were concerned when COVID happened in China, spread to Hong Kong. We were concerned about keeping her safe. I belong to a great organization in the U.S. called the Automotive Sales Council, and the executive director sent me an email and said, "Tom, what's going on with that weird COVID thing in China?" So I sent him a report. This was at the end of 2019, and I put one sentence on the bottom of that email. I said, if any of you guys know where we can get some N95 masks, we'll buy all that you can send us. 5 days later, a massive FedEx box, in fact, the biggest FedEx box I've ever seen in my life, arrived at my home. And it was filled with hundreds of masks, gallons of hand sanitizer, face masks, Lysol cleaner, anything you could imagine. And I tried to pay the Automotive Sales Council members who sent it. I tried to pay him what he declared on customs, and he refused. So then I realized I had to pay it forward. So when COVID hit in the U.S., that British friend that we have that sources air fresheners in China, he started sending plane loads of N95 masks to Europe. In fact, he supplied the government of Holland. And so we asked him for help. So he helped us source masks. We sold them at cost or free and sent over 45,000 masks when there were none in the US and Europe to friends and family, customers. And also we supplied the Gorilla Glue and Stoner factories. And that was our way to give back for that kindness of that Automotive Sales Council member. Then we realized with a people-to-people charity that two of our former maids in Hong Kong had relocated to the Philippines. They had this incredible way of collecting cast-off items in wealthy Hong Kong and distributing them people to people to people in need in the Philippines. So we supported the majority of their shipment of these boxes of goods back to the Philippines. I wouldn't be in sales or marketing without mentioning the brands that we represent. So we work with Gorilla Glue, and Gorilla Glue has become the number one selling brand in DIY in the world. And we've been blessed to work with Gorilla Glue for 15 years. We've grown the business over 70x, and we've done such a good job that we've completed our task, and Gorilla Glue is working with us to create their own office in Hong Kong, and they will take over the business from next year. We've been working with Stoner for over 11 years in the mold and in mold release and industrial markets, and this is actually our biggest business, but it's a very quiet behind-the-scenes business, and Stoner makes incredible products, and they're wonderful to work with. Another Stoner brand is invisible glass. And so we've been selling invisible glass in many markets around the world. And I'm a car guy. I used to love Meguiar's products. I clean my own car every Saturday. It's part of my what I do. And Stoner honestly makes the finest car care products in the world. And we're really happy to work with them. That Permatex business that I was sent to Asia in 1992 to drive, well, we've got it back, and it's wonderful, with a lot of new product development initiatives that are going to take it to the next level. So we're really happy to be driving that business that was one of my original children in Asia. And along with that, ITW has given us Slime, which is this division of ITW, Global Tire Repair, is the leading tire repair brand in the world. They supply the product when the cars are made, they supply it through the dealer network, and then they have the huge Slime brand at retail. So we're rolling out this new opportunity in Asia. It's very important to recognize the people that have helped us grow. We have 8 international partners around the world that we've awarded a foundational award. This is a very heavy Nachman crystal from Germany trophy that is actually given every year at the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens. And we've honored these 8 companies that have helped us grow. Without them, we would not be here. And so that brings us to you. You would not be watching this video if you hadn't somehow contributed to our business over the last 25 years. And we owe it all to you, and we thank you for 25 fantastic years, and we look forward to 25 more.